I'm really excited to be talking with Dr. Michael Borrero today about his new book, Reclaiming Coherence. Michael, it's so good to see
There
you.
it is. There it is. Yes.
Yes. And
I just
so, yeah,
no, go ahead, go ahead. I just had a friend email me and show me the cover like you did. And he says,
yes,
I finally got it. Something like
yes.
that.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so it's been a real pleasure to work with you and to hear about your life story as you were building this book, because you do have an incredible story of living in Puerto Rico and then being raised in New York City and then going on to become the research professor at the UCONN School of Social Work, my alma mater. So it was nice to connect with
There you
you and
go. There
right.
you go.
And
Yeah, yeah.
you're right. And you founded there the Institute for Violence Reduction, which
Correct.
and
Correct.
we're directing that for 25 years, something like that.
I say about 10 or 15. I started
Mm-hmm.
that, I think, after about 10 years there or
Mm,
something like that. When in the mid 80s,
mm-hmm.
gang violence was really picking up in Hartford and
Mm-hmm.
Connecticut in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I became very concerned about the youth. And the response was more jails, more cops, and more judges. And of
Mm,
course, anybody that knows anything about this business knows that that's how gangs start in jail.
mm-hmm.
So we started the institute, and I got the support of the faculty and the board of trustees at that time, and we launched it. And we had at first people were skeptical. The police were skeptical, and authorities. They called me the gang professor, glorified gang professor, and
Mm,
but after a while, even they came around and saw that there was a third way
mm,
rather than just jailing them and or suppressing them. That the realization that many of these young people want the same things we have and want, but they don't know how to get them.
mm,
Uh, their environment so often tells them one way that's going to get them into trouble. But
mm,
anyway, that's how we started the institute and worked with several of the local gangs, and I think we did some good.
mm.
I think one of your authors, Irene Nazario,
Ora- Yes,
is
or unnecessary. Yes.
a
Mm-hmm.
graduate of that experience. He was one of the first young men I hired to help curtail some of the violence. But anyway,
Yes. Yes.
that's how we started the institute.
Oh, that's incredible. And that I bring it up because it weaves into the work that you do and the book that you wrote. That's all about, it's called Reclaiming Coherence. Basically, you talk about how things get out of rhythm, right? We get out of rhythm. So it's
Yes.
not that
Yeah.
things are broken, but we are out of sync with the rhythm that we're meant to be in it. And then it can look like there's societal problems, or you are having problems in your personal life or your inner life. Can you talk a little bit about the idea behind?
Yeah, it started very briefly in the research of um, uh, basically I had three questions. How did we get here? Who
Mm-hmm.
are we and why are we here? And how did we get here? I looked at all the different faiths and all the different and science.
Mm-hmm.
How were we created? And I came to the realization that this notion that we started at creation itself without looking at what was before creation
Mm,
and looking behind that whole development historically in our ancestors, um, how much we looked at chaos. The reason we were here is to um, create peace, create order from the chaos,
mm,
which is may have been true at that point, but it may have been just the reaction of our ancestors to thunder and lightning and wild animals,
mm,
and from that came a development that we had to bring humans to bring about this peace and order, which, by the way, it created a whole problems that we have. That inner voice
Mm,
is because of the dualities that we have formed from our ancestors, good and bad,
mhm,
yes and no, do this and
mhm,
that. So binaries have played a major force in our development
mhm,
and has been very oppressive in many ways. But that's a whole nother story.
mm,
But I looked at that creation, what was before creation, and I realized that um, we probably came from a very uh, harmonic, peaceful,
mm,
rhythmic situation. That's our origin, and
mm,
that we are missing that tuning into that tranquility, that resonance, that coherence, that consciousness
mm,
that brings us meaning and um, going forward.
mm,
So that I envision that we really are very peaceful.
mm,
We are very searching,
mhm,
and that we are missing something in that search. And I suggest that it is the rhythm
mm,
that we're trying to connect with others and with ourselves. And we have all of these different words and all of these different ideas on it. And perhaps it may be very basic that our suffering, our struggles are really not illnesses, but
mm,
they're really lack of connections, lack of tuning in to our rhythm, our
mm,
heart, our bodies. So much of it our minds that control us, and we know that the mind has its limitations, and the real connection that I think we're looking for. How do we connect the body and the mind with the heart to
mm,
have that synchrony, to have that coherence, that effortlessness, to live the kind of life that we're probably meant to have,
mm,
but it's drastically changed to the ages
mm,
for different reasons, many political, many economics. And so we are social inheritors of a past that we need to really look at very carefully. And
mm,
I think that that's something that we're heading more and more to. I see young people looking at questioning the why are we doing what we're doing? Where does this come from? Whether this makes sense. And I
mhm,
think that's very healthy
mhm,
because we have assumed many things and we're very gullible
mm.
for lots of reasons, economic, political, power, etc. Anyway, but ask away because I'm
Yes,
talking
I
a
have.
lot.
I want to hear you talk a lot. I could just
No.
listen to you. You say such amazing things. I have a couple quotes from your book that I'd love to read and then get your feedback on. Um, one of these are, we don't merely possess rhythm, we are rhythm. We are pure time and motion, a living composition in the making. Our behavior is temporal choreography, how we manifest internal and external pulses over time. We are the drumbeat of the earth.
Yeah, buried in cement, by the way, I should.
Right?
Unfortunately. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think that's a nice quote because it highlights that essence, that struggle that
Mm-hmm.
we have to connect, but connect to what?
Mm,
We have a history of Jung, Freud, Erickson, and other psychologists as well. You need to connect to this and all of this
mm-hmm.
and that. And you know, at that time that may have made sense. Um, but I think so much of the yearn is to connect to something very simple, that is to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And who we are basic vibrations with a pause, which
Mm,
results in rhythm. And that's
mm,
what rhythm is. Um, that you cannot have rhythm without that pause, and you cannot have rhythm without that
mm,
vibration. And it's the synchrony, that coming together of those that we are yearning for to connect. And because of the complexity of the life we live, it's hard to find that simplicity
mm,
uh, within us. And I mean, breath therapy
mm-hmm,
and exercises are so helpful to that, because we can connect with our bodies and slow it down or get in tune with it. But actually, what we're doing is we're finding our rhythm.
mm,
And we're constantly in many different ways trying to find our rhythm, whether we take a drink of beer or get into drugs or get into
mm-hmm,
other things. We're trying to find a connection.
mm,
And I'm suggesting to the reader is, well, look inward, connect to your rhythm, trust it. That's your friend, that's your guide.
mm,
Um, that is your night.
mm,
Follow it.
mm. And this is the thought of the need for the pause, that we can't have the rhythm without the pause.
That's
That's
right.
very powerful because especially in our society now that is so sped up and so fast, that
Yeah.
and I think that you are right in from looking at the younger generation now, I think they are starting to question it, and they have through time, right? That they're
Yeah.
saying, what is the purpose? Why are
Mhm.
we doing this? Why are we going
Mhm.
at this pace? Why are we, right? All of
Yeah,
this.
they can identify with the chaos. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's face it. We live a very chaotic life. We keep chasing
Yeah.
uh, to have more,
Mm-hmm.
to bet better. You know, we get a phone and we can't wait for the new model to come in to get another one, or a laptop, or a
Mm-hmm.
car,
Mm-hmm.
and this yearn
Mm-hmm.
for something. Well, maybe it's basically ourselves in that rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Start there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm suggesting in this book. In
Mm-hmm.
the next one, listening and speaking from the heart, I really get into some of the exercises or some of the methodology of
Mm-hmm.
how to really um, tune into your rhythms.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And that's
I,
work that you've done with many people, right? The listening and speaking from the heart. That's based on work that you've
correct,
done.
correct.
Mm.
I don't know why, but I lost you.
Pause for a moment. Can you? I can hear you. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
okay, I can see you. Okay, okay, now I
Okay.
got you back.
Good. We're
Okay,
back. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Good.
Sorry about that
That's okay.
technology.
That's okay. We're doing pretty good. I'm in
Oh,
the
okay,
US
great.
and
Yeah,
you're in Panama, so we're making it work, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, you know,
Yeah.
technology does help as well. It's not all bad.
Right.
It's not all
Very
bad.
true.
It's unfortunate we have to use it sometimes, but here we
Hmm.
are. So how can we do the best with what we have?
Right. Could you talk a little bit about, I know we don't go into this in the book very much or in depth, but I'd love to hear you talk about listening and speaking from the heart.
Yeah, I mentioned it. Um, you know, I think that we are stuck in many ways, but one of the ways we're stuck that's key is with binaries, and
Mm,
we're not even aware of them. But I estimate that over 90% of our decisions are binaries. It's an either
mm,
or, it's a
mm,
dichotomy.
mm-hmm,
And this comes from our ancestors and all that, and I'll discuss that.
mm-hmm,
And that um, we get stuck with these either or. And I
Mm,
suggest that there is a third word, third
mm,
way.
mm-hmm.
And I say it's the binary is zero or one. It's the most simplest. I mean, even right now, you and I are talking because of zero and one. Because of that, we couldn't. That
Right.
binary, all
Right.
technology is based on the binaries,
Yes.
and so we're stuck with the zero, the one. But I say there's a space between the zero, one. That's a fact,
Mm,
and in that space is the third way,
mm,
and the third way is the way of listening and speaking from the heart.
mm,
And it's our way of searching for our rhythm, for our resonance, for our coherence.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it is by connecting to our truth,
Mm-hmm.
to recognizing our truth. When we hear truth, we know it, we can
Mm-hmm.
feel it, we can sense it. When we
Mm-hmm.
speak it, we vibrate it.
Mm-hmm.
So the way to connect, I think, and I've used this in therapy, and I've used it with very difficult kids, even with gangs and adults.
Mm-hmm.
And the speaking from the heart, everybody can identify with,
Mm-hmm.
almost everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They even touch their heart when you say speaking from the heart. They
Mm-hmm.
touch it, they can feel it,
Mm-hmm.
and and the hard part is the listening from the heart, because
Mm,
you've got to put your head aside and just listen from it. Listen for that, not the words. Listen for the stress, for the pause, for the um, tone,
mhm,
for the meaning of what people are trying to communicate. We're not very good listeners in that sense. So this book tries to help in that sense. How do we
mhm,
become better listeners? But in a different, in the traditional way, listening with your heart, listening for the rhythm of the speech, and
mm,
then how do you speak from the heart?
mm,
How do you tell your truth? You
mm,
listen to someone else's truth. Now, how do you relate your truth? And it's
mm,
that interchange that gives us that resonate. When we resonate in those exchanges, uh, coherence is not far apart, not far away, and we
mm,
can begin to to feel differently about who we are and the people we connect with. So it's a meaningful way to reach people's reality, people's soul, people's being, uh, and it is a sense thing. It is not an intellectual thing.
mm,
But we've got to bring the body and the mind together for that to work. So it's an interesting dynamic. It gets a little complicated to explain sometimes, but um, I think that for those who've tried it and those certainly in my work, it's helped a great deal. And I put a lot of examples in this next book about
mm,
how it works out. And uh, I mean, you can look at figures historically. Martin Luther King and his Birmingham speech from jail,
mm,
speaking from the heart. I use that as an example. Fred Rogers, when funding with PBS was going to be cut, you know, he spoke from the heart and it was restored.
mm,
Avisos Campos
mm,
was dignity of speech in Puerto Rico. When he spoke from the heart, he ended up in jail,
mm,
but he spoke his truth.
mm,
And so, well, that's that next book. But I do touch
mhm,
that how important it is to that sense, and it is a way of connecting with your rhythm. You cannot
mhm,
speak or listen from your heart if you're not connected to your rhythm or to the other rhythm. So it's that rhythm connection that I think makes a great deal of difference in our relationships and with ourselves.
Mhm. There's one more quote I want to read and get your input on, and this is in the chapter about flight because you're an aviator,
Ah,
right? Um, when did you get into flying, or
great
had?
question. I lived in Friday Harbor, Washington, and I
Mm,
was assistant professor at or lecturer at the University of Washington in Seattle.
mm,
And I used to have to take a ferry, which was 2 hours from Friday Harbor to Anacortes, which was the mainland, and then an hour and a half car drive to the university.
oh
Well,
my.
I couldn't do this every day, and I had to leave my family behind then because I had to stay in the city 3 or 4 days and then
Mm-hmm.
come back. And I thought there must be a better way. So
Mm,
it's either take the ferry or just don't take the job or stay in the city or whatever. But I found a third way, and I
mm-hmm.
said, well, why don't I fly? I've never flown all that, so I took lessons very quickly. I learned how to fly. I talk about that experience in a book of flying
Mm-hmm.
and almost getting lost in my first cross country. And I used to fly they called me the flying professor at the UW. I used to fly every day then. I didn't have to wait around. It's only about a 20-minute drive, a
Wow.
fly and all of that.
Mm,
So I got into flying it then, but then it just took me. Like
mm,
so many things I get into, I've got to uh, see it through all the ways. So I got my
mm,
instructors, flight instructors, instrument instructor, multi-engine, commercial license. I had to do the whole thing. Uh,
mm,
and there's this thing that I think you don't really learn something until you start to teach it.
mm.
So uh, the only way I could teach it is to get my instructorship in flying.
I
So
love
uh,
it.
just the only way I could teach at the university was to get a PhD. So you
Right?
got to,
Ooh.
but it's something about me that I like to explore and really realize that only when you start to teach something do you really learn
Mm.
what it's really about.
Yes. I taught yoga for many years, and I feel like I learned it from teaching it, right?
Yeah,
I learned it because I had to embody it. I had to actually that's how I learned how to be more peaceful because before then I was not a very
yeah.
peaceful person. So I'm going to read this quote because I'd love for our listeners to hear this quote from your book. After a lifetime of searching for rhythm on the ground, in stoop ball, in baseball, in academia, I had finally found its purest form in the sky. I had learned to fly, and in doing so, I had discovered another dimension of life, one that synthesized knowledge with skill and attuned my rhythms intellectually and emotionally. It became the synthesizer that allowed me to carry on.
Mm,
You write so
yeah.
beautifully. I just had to share that quote.
Uh, yeah, a little poetic there, a little
Mhm.
philosophical poetry.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's again, I think it's that how do we connect to whatever is endearing and important in a way that resonates? We really feel it, we really sense it, it's really a part of us.
Mhm.
Uh, and from that, how do we then, radiate that to others and
Mhm.
maintain it? Uh,
Mhm.
just like you wake up in a day, you feel great. Oh, how do I keep this going all day? How
Mhm.
do I this? I like this. I like this a lot.
Mhm.
And it's that sensation. How do we keep that connection going? Well, that's coherence.
Mhm.
That is that wholeness, that fullness, that effortlessness that we all experience it, but it's fleeting.
Mhm.
It comes and it goes. and we're just too busy and too occupied to uh, try to search to how do I maintain that as a way of life.
Mm.
And I think I'm getting close to some of that as I get younger and younger every
That's
day.
right. That's right. We're all figuring it out. It's a challenge of a
Well,
lifetime, right? And is
yeah.
there anything else you'd like that to have our listeners know?
Um, no, I think that this book is a memoir that started with my kids wanting to know about me, and I
Mm,
developed it. And then I realized there wasn't enough, but there was also that in that story, there was my own search for those three questions that I mentioned before. How did we get here? Why are we here? What's the meaning? And it was, a lifelong of looking at Chopra and Kierkegaard and Nietzsche
mhm,
and Camus and so many others, and looking at science and the in that search, coming up with something that was meaningful to me.
mhm,
And it was a simple, to me, a simple answer. And I try to pass it on to others.
mhm,
Just connect with your rhythm. Start there. It's not the total answer. It's a
mhm,
starting point,
mhm,
but it's one that's true. It's one that you don't have to pay for. It's inexpensive, and it's real.
mhm,
So start connecting with your rhythm. Do you want to
mhm,
connect? Start there. From there, you'll be surprised where you go.
mhm. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and to share your
Oh,
wisdom in the book Reclaiming Coherence and with our listeners here today.
my pleasure. My pleasure.